So we're going to talk about the case of Phoenix Nets, and this is a case obviously from the West Midlands. It's an absolutely brutal case of a young lady who lost her life purely because she turned down someone's sexual advances. There happened to be another woman, by the way, so we're not talking about a man or female crime here. And we're going to the year of 2020 for this case. So I'm just going to say thank you now for all the gifts, even all the roses, guys. Like, even every single rose is counting towards this competition. We are literally 5k away from number 5 in the competition, which would be amazing. Thank you, Holly. Thank you for all the gifts in the gift goal are worth 3 times, I think. Did Ali say it's 1 for 3 diamonds or something? Either double or 3 times. So I'll say thank you now, and then I'll thank you again at the end of this case before we go to the next one, if that's okay. Thank you so much, guys. So the last time Phoenix Nets spoke to her friend, she sounded hopeful. It was the early hours of April the 16th, 2020. And like everyone else in England, she was counting down the days until lockdown restrictions would ease up. She talked about her plans to return to London to her parents' house in Croydon, to leave Birmingham behind to have a fresh start. She had no way of knowing that within hours those future plans would be stolen for her forever. The woman living in the room next door, someone she had tried to befriend and help, would make it so that she would never be able to go home. Anne! Thank you, Anne, so much. Thank you, Anne. That means well. Thank you, guys. Everyone sending the bigger gifts. Thank you. Sorry, I'm literally... Thank you, Leslie. So, Phoenix Nets, and I love that name, Phoenix. It's such a beautiful name. Was born on August the 4th in 1991 in Croydon in South London. She was the only child of Mark and Saskia. Thank you, Miriam. By all accounts, she was the kind of daughter that every parent's dreamed of. Supportive, loving, endlessly compassionate. And her childhood was filled with magic growing up. Her parents, thank you, Leslie, her parents, being their only child, they didn't spoil her, but their life was centred around her. Like, she was everything to them. And they were really proud of who she was growing up to be. Now, at Parish Church Junior School in Cudden, her teachers and classmates remember a girl who just sparkled with possibility and potential. She loved drama, lived for performing, and was passionate about horse riding. She was articulate beyond her years, and she was the kind of child who could hold conversations with adults and make them kind of forget they were talking to a kid, and then she could play with children and fit in there as well. She was never somebody who was mean, thank you, Mel, or made children feel any kind of way. She was always so supportive. She was a real girl's girl as well, and I love that because I love women who support women. And she was destined for a good future. A future that she really wanted. She wanted to be a mother. She wanted to see the world. She wanted to be somebody, and she was somebody. So in 2009, Phoenix made the bold decision to leave home to pursue her dream of becoming a paramedic. She enrolled at Canterbury Christ Church University in Kent, determined to build a career. And she wanted to become a paramedic to help people. She really wanted to help people. And she knew that paramedics normally go to the scene when it's a really kind of stressful situation. And the thought of being there for people in their darkest moments really did appeal to her. Now, somewhere between her first and second year at university, she decided to leave university. Now, we see this time and time again in this country. It's a real epidemic, although it's not overly spoken about, is the mental health of students. We know that there are a particularly high rate of self-unalivings. We know that children get really stressed. They're away from their parents for the first time in their lives. Hey, Ritz. And they also, they're living away from home. They're stressed. They're trying to get grades. There's no money at uni. They're trying to do a million things at once, and it can be really, really stressful. So at this point, Phoenix discussed with her parents that she was going to leave university because the depression was taking a crushing toll on her life. She left university without completing her degree, and that really, no problem, Lee, that really made her poorly. Like, leaving without the degree made her feel like a failure. And thank you, Gail. And she felt like she had let her family down. Hey, Rosa Music. She felt like she had let her family down. And her mum and her dad kept saying to her, like, we didn't need you to go to university. Like, we wanted you to go because you wanted to go. Like, we're not mad that you didn't. And her father especially was saying to her, like, you can go back at any time. Thought you'd been chucked out. Oh, Diane. You're about to. I bet you get chucked out before I do. Get chucked out of where? Like to see you try, Diane. So she left without... Oh, Diane, come back. She left university without completing her degree. Where did she think I got chucked out of? My house? Co-op. Oh, I did get chucked out of there. My hometown. My own life. I don't know. So yeah, her parents were not at all disappointed by her. They remained her constant support system and never wavered in their love for her. But for Phoenix, this started to become the beginning of a spiral. Not only not like checking out of uni, not only feeling like she hadn't completed her degree, she started to struggle. Now, after leaving Kent, she felt like she couldn't go straight back to Croydon because she didn't have enough to show for it. So she decided to go to Birmingham. Now, it's an unlikely choice for someone from South London, but somehow Birmingham spoke to her and she tried to build a life for herself there. But in late 2019, her life became fragile once again. The details of what brought her to that point remained between Phoenix and her family, but the result was clear. She needed support and she needed safety. Now, we know, so I can give you certain information because we do have some, but I don't have any more. So we know there was some kind of domestic abuse. We know that at some point, Phoenix felt unsafe and she found herself living in a women's refuge in Lozells in West Birmingham, or Lozells, however you say it. So we know she was placed into a women's refuge. So we know that there was an element of domestic abuse, and we know that they had accepted her there as a single woman because she had nowhere else to go at that time. And it would be this refuge that was supposed to keep her safe where she would meet the person who would kill her. So, is it, Lee? So I literally, this breaks my heart, and I can't even imagine as a woman who lived in a refuge that you go there for safety, you start bonding with people, and it's these people that will take your life. So I'm going to put a picture up actually here just to show you. Oh, that wasn't a very good picture, to be fair. So this is the woman we're going to be talking about, and this is the woman who is in the room next to her at the refuge. Okay, so I'm just going to leave her up for a minute so you can see her, and then I will put Phoenix back up because I don't really want to leave the perpetrator on the screen. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put her back. So the refuge was meant to be exactly what it says, a safe haven. It was a shared accommodation facility designed for vulnerable women, a place where people fleeing abuse, instability or homelessness could live as a temporary shelter while they piece their life back together. It had narrow corridors, small private rooms and communal kitchens, and the kind of institutional feel... No, I'm not straight, Julie. Inbox me. It was not glamorous. It was not, any kind of luxury, but it was safety. And it was like a stop point before you found something kind of more permanent. For Phoenix, the refuge was temporary. She'd already kind of made plans to return to her parents in Croydon. Now, I wish she'd done this straight away, but obviously for Phoenix, I think she needed somewhere to go for a while so she could even speak to her parents and say, look, some things have gone wrong. Hey, Danny, thank you guys for the roses. To say, look, I need to come back home for a while. Was the victim gay? No. So she was waiting at this point for COVID to settle. Hey, Philly, I'm good, thank you. She was waiting for things to settle, things to get a little bit more... Suze, that's really rude. There's a lot of people in here that live in Birmingham. But I just feel that is just ridiculous. You'd rather be homeless than step foot in Birmingham. That's people's homes. That's such a stupid thing to say. I've got loads of friends that live in Birmingham. She's got... I don't get it. There's don't tell Collie. Oh, I hope Golly turns into a gangster. What? West Side. I just don't get it. There's loads in like every area. There's really great places, really bad places. There's places with drugs. There's places with this. Like there's places down here I would want to live. Do you know what I mean? So she was. I know you are, Amy. So it's the best accent in the world, I think, apart from Irish. All right, Bob. So by March of 2020, the country had entered lockdown and cities fell silent, right? We knew what happened. It's not where you live, it's how you live. I love that. That's a nice way to say it. So cities fell silent, people ordered to stay home. And for Phoenix, it meant they restricted her from moving back home to Croydon. So she had to postpone going home. She could not leave Birmingham. She was stuck in the refuge for the foreseeable future. And in the living room next door, in the room where I'd say in their bedroom next door, because they had communal kitchens, was a woman whose name was Garika Conita Gordon. So Garika Conita Gordon, I should say. Garisha Gordon arrived in the Lozells refuge in early 2020, just months before Phoenix's death. She was 28 years of age, a Jamaican national who'd been living in England since childhood. And by the time she walked through those doors, her life had already been shaped by profound trauma. Born in Jamaica, Garisha spent her first 7 years under the Caribbean, sun, before being uprooted and sent to live with an aunt in England. Now, her mother eventually followed, but her mother sent her over first to move in with this aunt while she got more money together. And for some reason, well, obviously Garisha missed her mother, and so she kind of hated her mother for doing this, although her mother did it for her best interest. Hi, Cast. Her mum, she didn't really forgive her. Thank you, Sal, so much. Now, she attended an all-girls school in North London, and from the outside, her teenage years looked pretty ordinary. But by her late teens, Garisha became entangled with an older man who exploited her and trapped her into an abusive relationship. And it looks a lot like the grooming industries that she kind of got involved in. And when I say got involved in, was dragged into by these fucking sleazebag men. And that experience did leave some psychological scars. And from this point, it seems that the experience she had at the hands of this older man kind of really put her off men for life. It made her resentful towards men. It made her feel scared and trapped by the situation. I can understand that. But by 2020, she had escaped to London and this older man and to get away from the situation to rebuild her life in Birmingham. The refuge in Lozells was meant to give... Is it called Lozells or Lozells? Lozells sounds very foreign. Is it Lozel? If it's Lozel, say yes. No? Is it Lozelle then? Second one, Lozelle. Okay. Okay. I wait for someone to say something like, help me out. So she come in there, she was staying there. Lozells. Okay, thank you. Lozells. Okay. When Garisha met Phoenix, she saw someone who was kind, supportive and willing to be friendly to her. Oh, fucking hell. Don't love my postman today. Phoenix was really, really nice to her. She made conversation. She was polite. She tried to keep the peace. And she would always say good morning to Garisha. She would talk to her in the corridors. Now, Phoenix didn't really want to hang. She didn't really want to hang out. Team Jesus, big up you. We love you. Now, Garisha didn't really... she wanted to come into Phoenix's place. She wanted to chill with her. Phoenix wasn't into that with anyone. She just wanted to say hi, good morning, hope you're okay, do you need anything? She would lend you stuff, but she didn't really want to sit and hang. Now, Garisha started to see something other than a neighbour. At first, the two women were simply acquaintances, living close, as in proximity. They crossed paths in the communal kitchen. Hello, Julia. They passed each other in the narrow hallways and they exchanged small talk. But in February of 2020, something had shifted. And Phoenix began telling some of her friends on the phone that things really felt off with Garisha and she started to feel a bit strange around her. It started with requests. Garisha repeated asking Phoenix if she wanted to have sex with her. And she would say it in a really casual way, but in the middle of the hallways and stuff. And Phoenix was just like, no thanks, I hope you're okay. Because it was said in such a weird situation. So it wasn't like intense. It wasn't, thank you, Mouse. It wasn't like something that built up to it. It'd be like, are you all right? I've just been to the shop. Do you need anything? Blah, blah. And then she'd be like, do you want to have sex? And she'd be like, well, no, thank you. And then she'd kind of go into her room, lock the door, and be like on the phone to her friends, like, that's weird, weird. Now, it almost seemed like she started to ask more and more, as if, like, thank you, Mel, so much. If I ask her enough, I'm going to wear her down. She was. And Phoenix started to feel the pressure of that. Thank you, Hollybot. Thank you, Mels. Now, this, in the courtroom later on, it would come out, this wasn't even affection or like she fancied her. It was obsession. And it was almost like Garisha kind of enjoyed making her feel awful and awkward and scared more than she actually hoped that one day she was going to give in and do it. It just seemed really weird. Now, Phoenix began to make it more and more clear that she was not interested in this. She was polite but firm, and she set boundaries, and she went as far as saying, like, I'm not that way inclined. No, thank you. I'm only looking for friendship. Nope. But Garisha did not accept those boundaries. Instead, she became aggressive when rejected. Her frustration began to simmer. She left notes in Phoenix's room, messages that grew increasingly desperate. One note that was found later by investigators say, I know it's not like you to not have sex. I can't give you what you want unless you let me fuck you. Now, for me, how terrified this young lady must have been, living on her own in a refuge, a place where she should have been safe. COVID is on. She's far away from her parents for everything she's ever known. She's had mental health issues in the past. We have this woman who is bigger than her, who is stronger than her, who is making her feel unsafe, who is using disgusting language with her, who is making her feel like she cannot get away from this. And let's not dress it up as anything other than it was be exactly the same if a man was doing this to her and she could not escape from that. It's exactly the same. There's someone bigger and stronger who, no matter how many times you tell them, is still doing this. The language itself revealed a delusion. Garisha had convinced herself that Phoenix wanted this, but her refusals were merely obstacles to overcome, and that if she just kept going and going and going, eventually she would give in. On April the 7th, Phoenix sent a text message to her friend, said that, there is a girl here who keeps asking me to be sexual. I think I'm going to move back to London. I'm so scared. It's scaring me, laugh out loud. And we know the laugh out loud at the end is what we do to kind of minimise what we just said. So, like, we'll send someone a message and go, like, I literally am so depressed today. Like, I can't even cope. Laugh out loud. Because that's a way of saying, like, I'm telling you how I'm feeling, but if you don't respond or you don't kind of give me enough back, then I don't feel so upset. It's kind of like nervous, but it's also kind of like minimising it. Like, it's okay, you don't have to do anything. Like, I'm just telling you. Which is just makes me so sad. Can we get the last of those roses? We're so close to completing those rose gold. Thank you. By mid-April, Phoenix was desperate to leave. She told multiple friends she was planning to return to London as soon as the lockdown restrictions eased. She was counting down the days till she could get out of there. Thank you, guys. If Phoenix left, the obsession would have nowhere to go, the fixation would have no outlet, and the rejection would be final, and she could just move on with her life. And so in the early hours of April the 16th, 2020, Garisha decided that if she could not have Phoenix, no one else ever would. Thank you, guys. Phoenix's last known contact with the outside world was a phone call with her friends in the early hours of the morning of April the 16th. They talked about her plans to go home, how she started to pack, how she was surviving the lockdown and how she just couldn't wait to get home and be with her mum and dad. She was making plans for the future. Phoenix settled in her room, probably scrolling through her phone, maybe thinking about London, maybe imagining the day she could finally leave behind Birmingham and Garisha. Sometime after that call, Garisha entered Phoenix's room and in the dark stabbed her 4 times in the chest. The coroner said the wounds were not immediately fatal. Had she received medical attention, she would have survived. If someone had called for help, she would have survived. It would have taken quite a while for her to die. If Garisha had shown even a flicker of humanity, Phoenix would have survived. But Garisha did not call for help. She did not try to save her. Instead, she walked out of the room, closed the door, and left Phoenix to die all alone on her bedroom floor. She didn't return until she was dead. Now, one of the things that actually hurt me so much as a mum, it took several hours for her to die. Thank you, sausages. Thank you, everyone, for the roses. Several hours in which she wouldn't have been able to talk. She wouldn't have been able to move. She wouldn't have been able to get her phone or render herself any kind of aid. But she would have just been bleeding out, dying. When they found her, the floor underneath where her head lay was wet. She had been silently crying to herself. That was just as a mum, to know that she died with tears on her face, knowing enough of what was happening. Thank you, JJ, that she was crying. Now, one thing we do know that actually fucks me right off is several residents did hear, for the first 15 minutes after she was stabbed, her asking for help. And nobody came. She lay there in agony, bleeding out slowly, crying for help that would never come. Other women living in the refuge later did tell the police they heard strange noises coming from Phoenix's room, the banging, the scraping, and the sound of a woman crying. They heard her say, "Help me, help me." No one intervened, no one checked on her, no one called the police. Yeah, 100%, because she wouldn't have sex with her. Whether they thought it was a domestic dispute, whether they were too afraid to get involved, this was a women's refuge. Why not phone the staff? Put the alarm off. Do something. I don't know, Sue. She was the only child, but to know that she could have been saved, to know that someone could have helped her. The medical examiner would later say they believe she survived up to 12 hours after being stabbed. 12 hours. She suffered through the longest, loneliest night of her life. This is what I was saying. Who just said that? Who's bad apple, good egg? It's a woman's refuge. You're all there because your life at some point is in danger. You're not doing well. Why at that point would you not think, an ex has got in here, someone's hurting her? Why would you just ignore it? Why would you ignore it? Phoenix was left to suffer through the longest, loneliest night of her life. Medical examiner said that she would have survived for up to 12 hours after being stabbed, conscious and terrified, wondering why nobody was coming to save her. Between 10:04 and 3:07 p.m, so between 10:04 a.m. in the morning and 3:07 p.m. that afternoon, Grisha used Phoenix's stolen phone to conduct a series of Google searches to how to fix a punctured lung, internal bleeding, and can someone recover from being stabbed in the heart. It was as though some small part of her briefly considered saving Phoenix, as though she momentarily entertained the possibility and then decided against it. She never called for help. She never opened the door. She never checked on her. She simply searched and waited for Phoenix to die. By the time Phoenix's friends tried calling her mobile phone late that afternoon, they received no answer. Phoenix Netz, 28 years of age, aspiring paramedic who wanted to save other people's lives. I can understand why no one helped her. I think I was supposed to say I can't. A former aspiring paramedic who dreamed of helping people died alone on a refuge floor. The refuge that was supposed to keep her safe. Sorry, I'm just going to show you her killer again. Grisha. And this is her killer. I don't like to keep a paramedic up. I don't like to keep the guilty person on the screen. Because it's Phoenix's story, but sorry, I don't know what I just did then. I pressed the wrong thing. I wanted to put the photo of Phoenix back up. Hang on. Let me find this picture. There we go. I can't even. So on the morning of the 17th of 2020, Phoenix's body had been laying in her room for over 24 hours. Why did no one check that either when no one had seen her? Like, how was she allowed in the refuge to stay in a room for 24 hours? When we stayed in one, like, all of the communal areas had cameras, even going upstairs and stuff, like, so they would know if you were coming or going. And it's also the rule in the refuge, you're not even allowed to spend one night away from the refuge or you lose your space. So there are checks. Like, we didn't have anyone who lived on site. There was a woman that came in every morning. Never joined before. Are these live go cases? So what I do here is awareness for different cases that are active at the moment. So we may talk about cases that are in the media. And then we do deep dives on cases like Phoenix's now, tell our whole story all the way through. I go live several times a day. Normally I talk about like things in the news in the daytime. And in the evening I do like full kind of cases. And it could be a solved case. It could be an open case. It could be one from the 60s. It could be one from this year. It's all true crime related. And every story that we tell not only brings the victim back to life for a while and it gives them a voice, but it also, there'll be things in it that will save people in the future. It might save your sister, your children, because it will give you kind of different ideas, a kind of, I guess, and just keep their stories relevant. So, yeah, I did think that's what you meant. I always send things through Monica, and then I'm like, oh, that sounds like I've said something completely different, and then I end up leaving the live because I'm so scared they think I thought that. So we know that she was in her room for 24 hours deceased on the floor. Well, we know she was lying there. She was probably, 2020, we know she was probably dead for 12 of that. First, she went online, Gorisha, and she bought a circular saw on Gumtree. I'm so sorry. She arranged for it to be delivered directly to the refuge, and somebody arrived with a circular saw at 11 a.m. She carried it into Phoenix's room and shut the door behind her. What followed was a scene so horrific, thank you Pippin, that even seasoned homicide detectives would later describe it as one of the most disturbing cases they had ever worked on. Gorisha then, in a woman's refuge, cut Phoenix's body into 6 separate pieces. She used a circular saw to methodically cut through the bone and tissue. Never once did anyone say anything. She was using the saw for hours, and the sound echoed from top to bottom of the refuge, through the paper thin walls. Later, residents would say they heard drilling and banging noises throughout the day, but nobody thought to say anything. It would have been so loud, Shell. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, why did people didn't say anything? Like, why were the staff, like, not even to phone the staff and be like, look, dude, there would have been babies in that refuge, people trying to get, their babies to sleep. Like, what? I can't even go to the smell, but the noise, 2020, Shana. I know, but it would be so loud. Once Phoenix's body was dismembered, Gorisha sat through erasing every trace of her existence through the room. She stripped the mattress off the bed. She just disassembled the bed. Like, she's just doing all this madness no one even sees. She ripped up the carpet and its underlay, pulling it away from the floor in sections. She scrubbed the exposed floor with so much bleach that the chemical smell was all throughout the refuge, and people were like talking about it. She bagged up everything, the mattress, the carpet, the bedding, Phoenix's belongings, everything. Then she made phone calls. Through Gumtree and other online platforms, Gorisha hired several unsuspecting people to help remove what she claimed was waste and unwanted furniture from the refuge. Surveillance cameras from the nearby businesses would later capture the moment 2 men carry rolled up carpet and heavy black bags out of the building. What the actual fuck, right? How have you got men coming in and out of a woman's refuge without anyone seeing anything or saying anything? How are you able to strip off things like the mattress and get them out of there without anyone noticing? I had to sign in and out in the refuge, the Hoover, to take it up and use the Hoover. Then I'd have to sign it back in. If I was like, remember that time when I was on live and Tegan come into the refuge because she come home from work and she had a hat on? So the security guard did a check at my door that a man hadn't just entered my room because she had a hat on. And I'm like, no, it's my daughter. She just looks a bit masculine. And we were just joking on the live. And I'm like, they actually thought she was a man. Because they have to do the checks constantly. And I wasn't even mad at it because it was a women's refuge. I'm like, Tegan, take your hat off next time you come through the door because of the cameras. And I just don't understand. I just don't understand this at all. 2020, it wasn't even that long ago. Men aren't allowed in the refuge, Sharon. They're not allowed at all. They're not allowed even, workmen don't even come there unless they tell you like 2 days before, right, we've got a man coming in, he's coming to do the heating, please don't be worried. And a lot of women then choose to stay behind the door because they're terrified. She paid in cash for these men to take everything away. How come no one's watching? I just don't know. With the physical evidence cleared and the room sanitised, Garisha turned her attention to maintaining the illusion that Phoenix was still alive. It may be COVID, it may be because... the thing is, right, so when I was in the, actually what, Holly? When I was in there was 7 different apartments, right, over 3 floors. And I wasn't allowed into the other women's and they weren't allowed into mine. Children weren't allowed to go into each other's. The only place you would see each other was in the hallway. And there was really strict rules in place. Yeah, 100%. So we were never, there was never a time, because I used to have a woman who used to ask me if I could keep an eye on her child for an hour or two, even though the child didn't know me and I didn't know the child. But you're not allowed to do that. And I would just say no, because the cameras, if she gets caught in my room, then obviously I'm going to lose my place here. Like, you're not allowed to do all that stuff. So Garisha going in and out with bleach and stuff, coming out with mattresses. How did nobody see this? This is why I always live by the rule, and I always say to you guys, if you see something, say something. Because if one person had bothered to say, like, I smell bleach, I heard noises, I heard someone saying help me, all of this stuff, if one person had reported that, she would still be here now. Phoenix would still be here. If one person thought, like, I saw something or I've heard something, I'm going to report it. Yeah, Elaine, I don't get that. We talk about Phoenix Nets, a woman who was killed in Birmingham in a women's refuge. Yes, of course you can. By another woman who was kept trying to push sex onto her. So, Phoenix's phone became Garisha's most powerful tool. She used it to send text messages to Phoenix housing support manager, her friends, and even her parents, carefully mimicking Phoenix's texting style. She even used the LOL at the end of the messages. To most recipients, the text seemed authentic. Hey Moody, how are you? I hope you're okay. She had decided to move back to London. She was excited about a fresh start, and Garisha just took over for her. But Garisha knew the text message alone might not be enough to convince everybody. Phoenix's parents might want to hear her voice. So Garisha then downloaded a voice editing app. Using old recordings of Phoenix's voice, likely pulled from old phone messages, she started to make new audio messages. I didn't even know you could do this shit, man. She manipulated the recordings, splicing together words and phrases, adjusting the pitch and tone until it sounded eerily real. Then she sent the fabricated messages to Phoenix's friends and families. Each one knew in its reassurance that actually Phoenix was alive and simply busy. The deception was so convincing that most people believed it. Phoenix's parents, desperate for contact with their daughter through lockdown, heard the voice messages and just felt relief. Her friends read the text and assumed she was just caught up in the chaos of the pandemic. No one suspected the woman they were communicating with was already dead, her body dismembered and hidden in suitcases, while her killer played puppeteer, using digital identity. Meanwhile, Phoenix's remains had been wrapped in black bin bags, and placed inside of 2 large suitcases. Garisha was not finished yet. She needed to dispose of the body, and she needed to do it far away from Birmingham as she could. Oh, it's getting scary. Now we've got AI and stuff like that, and we've got so many different things. Who knows what the possibilities are? But the good thing is, to be fair, let me just balance that by saying, as clever as criminals are getting, and the more that they've got at their hands, this DNA, touch DNA, genealogy, all of that stuff is meaning that soon it'll be impossible to get away with any crime. What Garisha Gordon failed to understand was that modern Britain is blanketed with CCTV. Every street corner, every shop entrance, every public space is monitored and recorded. Phoenix's murder, those cameras would capture Garisha's increasingly frantic movements around the city and beyond. Where's my thing? Right, guys, can we try to finish this bear one? Because we're doing really well. We're moving towards number 5 in this competition. I don't think I can even press it. Is it letting me? Yeah, it is. Thank you, guys. Oh, okay. So, on April the 19th, surveillance footage showed Garisha cycling through quiet residential streets in Birmingham, struggling with heavy suitcases and stepping off balance, like someone transporting something too heavy. Thank you, Pepin. Later that day, another camera caught her entering a police station, clutching her phone and appearing agitated. Thank you, Holly. When officers asked what she needed, she claimed her phone was dead and she needed to charge it. She said she was supposed to meet friends in the area, and when they asked for identification, she became panicked and evasive, providing answers that did not quite add up. Eventually, she left the station without incident, but the interaction stuck with the officers that had seen her. Thank you, Nanny. The following day, cameras on the 20th of April, by the way, they captured Garisha going inside Home Bargains, where she purchased cleaning supplies and a sleeping bag. She paid in cash, avoiding any transactions that might leave a digital trail. Yeah, of course, Kelly. On April 21st, she booked a taxi once again. Surveillance cameras recorded her stepping off the vehicle at a petrol station on the outskirts of Birmingham. The taxi driver, sensing something was wrong, refused to continue driving her and abandoned her at the station and just left her there with the suitcase because she was like, this woman is panicked, sweaty, not making sense. So the woman then called the police. Garisha told the responding officer the taxi driver had stolen her bag, and when the officer asked what she was inside so they could track it down, she immediately backpedaled, claiming the driver had actually returned it to her after all. How are you going to say, well, actually, it's a body? On April 22nd, surveillance cameras captured Garisha boarding a train from Birmingham towards Gloucestershire, heading towards the Forest of Dean. She'd researched the area online, searching for remote locations. Why go to the police station? Please don't be rude to my Junie. She's saying, why did she go to the police station? I don't think that's unrespectful. She's just saying, why did she go to the police station? I don't really know, Junie. She went in there, thank you, Kirst. She went in there and asked to use a phone charger. Then when the police were like, can we have your name in that? She just got really evasive and left. So we'll never quite know why she was going in there. Nanny K! Oh, thank you, Nanny K. I love you. We did it. Nanny K! I love you. So, yeah, so she looks this forest. She starts to go up to the Forest of Dean. Let me put up the picture with. Oh, it's the age. Julie, you're. So this is hey DMAC. This is the kind of area we're talking about here. Yeah, Chris Gordon. I thought I was doing something wrong then. Hi, Sally. Julie never means to be disrespectful. She's a live wire. Hello, Moons. Everyone say hello to Moons. She's our new friend. Lorraine's just been in here. So yeah, so she heads to this heavy wooded area. We're new best friends now, Moons. I know you didn't do it with me to come in the box earlier. I'm going to make a big deal of you all the time. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Moons. When she arrived, Garisha made her way to Stowfield Quarry, carrying the 2 large suitcases with the body parts. Sorry, Moons, coming at a bad time. Behind her. The forest was silent, and she camped beside the suitcases that night, literally laying next to Phoenix's remains. And I just don't get any of this. And it was almost like, in a weird, bizarre way, that she was spending this last night with Phoenix's remains, which obviously were in 6 pieces in these suitcases. Almost as if she. Thank you, Kirst. Thank you guys for all your help in the competition. We're doing so well. Thank you. I think are we number 5 yet? It seems to be that like it was like this last goodbye. Oh, it just makes me so upset. But Garisha Gordon was not operating with an emotional response of a typical person. She was fixated. Moons, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. You don't have to do that. Thank you so much. She was fixated, calculated, and completely detached from what she had done. We're number 5. That's amazing. Thank you. Over the next several days, Garisha wandered the quarry's paths, exhausted and dishevelled. She made Google searches on Phoenix's phone. How do killers get caught? Can bodies burn to ashes with petrol? And what happens when you burn a body with petrol? She tried to burn Phoenix's remains, but without a strong enough accelerant, the suitcases never fully caught fire, thank God. She could not bring herself to bury the body either, because the ground was too hard. So she just waited around. She searched, and she was trapped in the limbo of her own making. Eventually, she returned to Birmingham, defeated and desperate, and on the 11th of May, she visited a petrol station, filled several cans up. Okay, lovely. with fuel, and again was recorded by CCTV. She needs to go back to the forest to find those suitcases and finish what she'd started. Through Gumtree, she hired a driver called Mahesh Sarathia and a 38-year-old man from Wolverhampton who had no idea he was about to become entangled in a murder investigation. She paid him to drive her from Birmingham to Colford, promising extra money if he would wait for her while she returned to get something out of the woods. Now, if somebody said to you, anyone said to you, can you give me a lift to the woods? Wait for me. I'm just going to get something from the woods quickly. Are you doing that? Male, female, whatever. Like, are you doing that? Let me do a poll, because I cannot think of anything that would get me more creeped out. If you would drive someone to the woods, wait for them, and then when they come back out of the woods, give them a lift home, put a smiley face. If you wouldn't, yeah, but money though, Julie, like, once you go into that woods, I don't want to see what you come out with. You couldn't come out with a fucking carrot cake, I wouldn't be waiting. At that point, I'm just like, nah. There's 3 of you that are like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Anything my best friend. What do you guys think she's going to go out of the woods with? Tom fucking Hardy? Are you off your nut? I want to know who the 3 of you are and what you think they're doing in the woods. A squirrel girlfriend? Do you know what I mean? I'm not waiting for no one in the woods. Not even my... I'd wait for him. What? Nanny K would go in the woods after you with a fucking shovel. One of us ain't coming out alive. Who's Morgan Wallen? Wallen, have you spelled Rick Waller wrong? Why did she own a car? I don't know if she could drive. Have you spelled Rick Waller wrong? Picky Mushy. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is my squirrel girlfriend. A serial twig collector. You would, H. I'd be like... I'd ask someone else to go and be like, let me know what they had. I know you would, Hard, but that's what worries me. So on the evening of the 12th of May, Mahesh picked up Grisha and they agreed upon the location and they drove the 80 miles, hi Racing Lions, to Gloucestershire. It was just after 10 p.m. on May the 12th when local residents near Colford noticed something unusual. A lone car driving through the darkness, circling the area repeatedly as though the driver was searching for something. It was zigzagging, it was really strange. And rural Gloucestershire, big up you, they finally decided, I've seen something, I'm doing something. They phoned the police. And when officers arrived, they run the latest licence plate. They discover the car is registered to Wolverhampton. And Mahesh gets out of the car, he looks anxious, and he tells the officers, I'm simply waiting for my friend. She's in the woods retrieving something. How do you even explain that to the officers? I'm waiting for my friend to retrieve something out of the woods. The officers remind him there's lockdown rules in place, and unless his friend's having some kind of emergency, they said he needs to go home. Now, at first, he says, I'll just go home, and they're going, okay, cool. But when they saw the car again, a bit later as they're about to leave, they're like, nah, there's something weird here. And at this point, the police pull in to the lay-by near the Stowfield Quarry. Mahesh is stood there, and there's a woman stood next to it with 2 suitcases. Why did she bring the suitcases back to the car? I have no idea. They definitely thought dogging, it's not Dave. The body cam footage of that moment is chilling. Grisha Gordon appears, both defensive and panicked, as the officers ask what is in her suitcases. They say... She said to them, she goes to them at that time, you need to leave my property alone. And they go, you're trying to stop us looking at your suitcases. That to us is absolutely concerning. And she goes, wait, just listen. But it was too late. One officer bends down, unzips the suitcases, and you hear the officer on the body cam go, oh my fuck, that's a person. You are under arrest, that's a person in your suitcase. Inside this first suitcase, wrapped in bin bags, were human remains. And the second suitcase had even more. Within minutes, both Grisha and Mahesh were handcuffed and taken into custody. The Forest of the Dean, a place known for its natural beauty, had become the site of one of Britain's most gruesome and pointless murders. I'll put Phoenix back on the screen, actually. a beautiful young lady. Did that work? Yeah. Okay. On May the 15th, 2020, DNA confirmed the remains belonged to 28-year-old Phoenix Nets from Croydon. Detectives from West Midland Police took over the investigation from Gloucestershire authorities, and they eventually got back to the women's refuge. When officers searched Garisha's room at the refuge, they found evidence that made the case against her undeniable. There was a hacksaw still covered in Phoenix's blood. There were handwritten plans about how to get rid of bodies. There was also receipts for the circular saw, cleaning supplies, and the petrol. And then there was Phoenix's phone still in Garisha's possession, with the search history. How do killers get caught? Can someone come back from a perforated lung? Can someone live if you stab them in the heart? Can someone recover from getting stabbed? How to fix a punctured lung? How to burn a body with petrol? Always the searches. The surveillance footage from across Birmingham told the rest of the story. Cameras had captured Garisha at every step of her cover-up. One of the police in charge of this investigation said she went to great lengths to pretend Phoenix was still alive and moved out of the area, as well as getting efforts to dispose her body, hoping her despicable crime would go unnoticed. Mahesh was initially charged with assisting an offender, but those charges were dropped once investigators realised he was nothing but stupid. He didn't have anything to do with the crime, he was just stupid. And we know that Garisha then faced the whole extent of the law. Garisha Kanita Gordon was originally scheduled to stand trial in 2020, but the date was pushed back to April 21st, 21, because of the lockdown. She pleaded guilty to the murder of Phoenix Nets between April the 14th and May the 12th of 2020. The trial proceeded to sentencing as she pled guilty. Prosecutor Andrew Smith laid out the evidence methodically. He described how Phoenix had confided in friends as early as February of 2020 that Garisha had demanded to have sex with her and got very, very aggressive. He read the text messages that Phoenix had sent to her friend on April the 7th. There's a girl here who wants to keep asking me to be sexual with her. Think I'm going to be back to London. She's scaring me. Laugh out loud. He detailed the call Garisha made to Samaritans on April the 11th, where she drunkenly described her feelings towards Phoenix, saying that every time I look at Phoenix, my loins get hot. He walked the jury through the timeline of the murder, the dismemberment, the cover-up, and the elaborate scheme to impersonate Phoenix using text messages and AI altering recordings. Hello, Simon. Medical testimony revealed that none of Phoenix's stab wounds would have been fatal if she had received medical attention. And the fact that it took her 12 hours to die just breaks my heart every time I read it. But Garisha had deliberately done nothing to help her, instead allowing Phoenix to bleed out slowly over the course of 12 hours, on the floor, conscious and crying for help that never came. Thank you, Bex. The defence did not argue innocence. Instead, Garisha's lawyers focused on her traumatic history, the years of sexual exploitation, untreated mental health issues. They argued Garisha was not inherently evil, but was instead a damaged woman who had been failed repeatedly by the system. A letter from Garisha's mother was read out. She described her daughter as a ticking time bomb who never received the help she desperately needed. She insisted Garisha was not a bad person at heart, but someone with trauma. But as a mum, it's your job to get her the help she needed. But none of the and I don't blame her entirely, but I do get fed up with these broken adults who go on to commit horrific crimes, then saying, "But look what happened to me." Yeah, but you could have got help. You could have been better. You could have broke the cycle of those things. You didn't have to take Phoenix's life. You pushed yourself onto this girl. And you seem to get a kick out of the fact that she wasn't a lesbian. She didn't want to have sex with you. She was in a place of safety. She didn't want to have sex with anyone. She just wanted to go home. And you enjoyed constantly saying horrific things and being aggressive towards her because it gave you a kick and it made you feel empowered because other people had made you feel powerless before. And I can't stand people like that. Like, if you felt powerless, hey, Cuntosaurus. If you felt like powerless in your life, you should make other people feel that way. Phoenix's family provided victim impact statements. Her father, Mark Nett, said his life had been irreversibly changed. His anguish was indescribable. Her mother, Saskia, stood up and broke everyone's heart when she said, "I'm forever devastated. I'm forever empty. I've lost my only child. She brought the sunshine to my life and now there's just a storm. There's nothing." High Court Judge, Miss Justice Cutts did not mince her word when she called Garisha a very dangerous young lady, callous, calculating and evil. It is clear from the deeply moving statements that Miss Netz was a lovely, caring and passionate woman who was deeply loved, Justice Cutts said. She had intended to move back to live with her parents. Her future was looking bright, shining and promising. You robbed her of that fresh start. You took her from the supportive parents who loved and cherished her. On May the 4th of 2021, Garisha Kunita Gordon was sentenced to a life prison with a minimum sentence of 23 years and 6 months before she will ever be eligible for parole. As she would led away from the courtroom, Phoenix's family embraced. Their grief and relief mingled in equal measures. Justice has been served, but what was done could never be undone. And just for anyone who didn't see the perpetrator, I will quickly show you her. Don't like to have the perpetrator. So this is the woman who did it to her. For absolutely no reason at all. None. No reason at all. There's absolutely no reason at all for this.